Module 9 explores the complex landscape of agricultural policy, environmental governance, and global regulatory frameworks that influence sustainable land use and eco-conscious farming practices. As agriculture intersects with multiple policy areas, climate change, biodiversity conservation, trade, land tenure, food security, and water management, this module analyzes how institutions, policies, and treaties shape environmental outcomes across scales: local, national, regional, and global. At the heart of this module is a critical examination of policy instruments, including subsidies, taxes, incentives, regulatory bans, cap-and-trade systems, and voluntary certification schemes. Learners are guided through policy case studies, multi-stakeholder governance models, and landmark international agreements such as the UNFCCC, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, Paris Agreement, Kyoto Protocol, and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Special attention is given to environmental justice, indigenous land rights, the precautionary principle, payment for ecosystem services, PES, and agro-environmental subsidies under the European Union's Common Agricultural Policy, CAP, and Africa's Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Programme, CAADP. By the end of this module, you should be able to 1. Understand and assess the environmental impacts of agricultural policies at national and international levels. 2. Analyze how governance structures and legal instruments influence sustainable agricultural practices. 3. Evaluate global frameworks and treaties that address agriculture's environmental footprint. 4. Understand the role of stakeholders in environmental governance, from states and NGOs to farmers and indigenous communities. 5. Formulate policy recommendations that align agricultural development with environmental sustainability. The interface between agriculture and policy. Agriculture is inherently political, shaped by subsidies, incentives, tariffs, and trade deals. Policies can incentivize either sustainable practices, e.g., agroforestry, cover cropping, or environmental degradation, e.g., fertilizer subsidies without regulation. Policy coherence is often lacking across ministries of agriculture, environment, water, and finance. National agricultural policies and environmental outcomes. Input subsidies often lead to excessive fertilizer pesticide use, soil degradation, and eutrophication. Irrigation policies may create waterlogging or groundwater depletion when not monitored. Land tenure laws secure rights, boost conservation. Insecure tenure leads to overexploitation. Agro-environmental schemes reward farmers for adopting biodiversity-friendly practices, e.g., set-aside land, buffer strips, hedgerows. Environmental impact assessments, EIAs, in agriculture. Evaluate potential ecological risks before projects are approved. Environmental governance models. Top-down approaches. Central governments impose regulations, e.g., fertilizer caps, pesticide bans. Bottom-up approaches. Community-based natural resource management, CBNRM, participatory governance, polycentric governance, multiple overlapping authorities and jurisdictions, e.g., water boards, environmental agencies, farmer associations. Multi-stakeholder initiatives, Roundtables for Sustainable Palm Oil, RSPO, Forest Stewardship Council, FSC. International agreements and frameworks. Key agreements. United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, agriculture recognized through the Coronivia Joint Work on Agriculture. Kyoto Protocol, introduced Clean Development Mechanism, CDM. Agriculture indirectly involved via afforestation and methane reduction. Paris Agreement, 2015, Nationally Determined Contributions, NDCS, integrate agriculture into climate mitigation adaptation plans. Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, encourages agroecological practices and conservation of agrobiodiversity. United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, UNCCD, promotes sustainable land management in arid, semi-arid, and dry, subhumid areas. FAO's voluntary guidelines on the responsible governance of tenure, VGGT, supports equitable access to land and natural resources. the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and agriculture. Agriculture is central to several SDGs: Goal 2, Zero Hunger. Goal 6, Clean Water and Sanitation. Goal 12, Responsible Consumption and Production. Goal 13, Climate Action. Goal 15, Life on Land. Cross-cutting issues like gender, equity, and poverty reduction are also essential. Policy instruments for environmental management in agriculture. Command and control, direct bans or limits on harmful activities. Market-based instruments, subsidies for eco-friendly practice. Tax on agrochemicals. Trababla permits for water emissions. Voluntary certificaten, organic rainforest alliance for trade labos. Payments for ecosystem services, PES, compensating farmers for services like carbon sequestration, water purification, habitat preservation. Case studies of agricultural environmental governance. European Union Common Agricultural Policy, CAP. Greening payments tied to crop rotation and ecological focus areas. Brazil's Forest Code mandates that a portion of private land be preserved as native forest. Kenya's agricultural sector climate change framework, climate resilient extension services. India's National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture, NMSA. Integrated farming, soil health cards, micro-irrigation. Challenges in environmental governance of agriculture. Policy fragmentation and siloed decision-making. Lack of enforcement and compliance mechanisms. Corruption and elite capture in resource allocation. Limited participation of women and marginalized groups. Trade-offs between productivity and sustainability.